November 13th, 2014, from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. It was the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. The Bills won the toss. They elected to receive, so the Dolphins, they actually deferred, so the Dolphins would start off with the ball first. They started out with it on their own 12. Tannehill hit Miller, and he went for 13 yards to pick up a first down and get them up to their own 25. Then on 2nd and 8, Tannehill hit Landry for a 10-yard pass to pick up another first down. Then a few plays later, on 2nd and 3, Tannehill hit Landry for a 12-yard pass to pick up a first down, bringing the ball across midfield into the Buffalo 44. Then on 2nd and 6 from the Buffalo 40, Tannehill hit Hartline for a 7-yard pass that brought the ball to the 33. Tannehill was then sacked for a 12-yard loss by Charles, and that brought up 2nd and 22. Miller then lost a couple yards, and that made it 3rd and 24 from the Buffalo 47. Tannehill then dropped back to pass, and he hit Williams for a 32-yard reception, and that brought the ball to the red zone into the Buffalo 15. So now Tannehill hit Williams for a 6-yard pass, and it was now 2nd and 4 on the 9. But then Miller ended up picking up 3 yards, but there was a holding penalty, so that made it 2nd and 14 on the 19. Then Tannehill threw it to Miller, and they lost a yard. And then after an incomplete pass, they would bring out Caleb Sturgis, and he would kick a 38-yard field goal, and that would put up the first points on the scoreboard with the score Miami 3, Buffalo 0. So now the Bills would take over, and they had the ball on their own 18. There was less than 7 minutes left in the first quarter. Kyle Orton hit Woods for a 9-yard pass to make it 2nd and 1, and then Orton hit Watkins for a 5-yard pass to pick up a first down. A couple plays later it was 3rd and 4 from the 38, and Orton hit Hogan for a 7-yard pass to pick up a first down and bring the ball to the Buffalo 45. Then on 3rd and 3 from the Miami 48, Orton hit Hogan for a 15-yard pass, and that brought the ball to the 33 of Miami, and the first down for Buffalo. Then on 2nd and 3 from the Miami 26, Brown ran for 5 yards and picked up another first down, but their drive would end up stalling on the Miami 15 as they made it into the red zone, but they would have to settle for a field goal as Dan Carpenter came out and he kicked a 33-yarder. It was up and it was good, and this game was now tied at 3 apiece. So now the Dolphins would take over on their own 20 with less than 30 seconds left in the first quarter. And on first down, Tannehill hit Mike Wallace for a 9-yard pass, and that brought the first quarter to a close with the ball on the Miami 29, and with the score tied up at 3 apiece. So now to begin things in the second quarter, it was 2nd and 1 on the Miami 29. They handed it off to Miller. He ran for 7 yards to pick up a first down. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 36, Miller ran for 33 yards. And that brought the ball all the way across midfield into the Buffalo 31. But then after picking up another first down with a pass from Tannehill to Hartline for 17 yards, it was first down on the Buffalo 14. Tannehill dropped back to pass. He ended up getting hit by Hughes, who made him fumble. It was recovered by Williams. So now it was Buffalo's ball on their own 12 with a little less than 13 minutes left before halftime. And they were faced with a 3rd and 5 a couple plays later from their own 17. Kyle Orton hit Hogan for a 14-yard pass to make it a first down on the 31. And then Orton hit Brown for a short pass, and he took it 19 yards all the way to the 50 for the first down. Brown then ran for 8 yards to make it 2nd and 2. Dixon then ran for a yard, and it was 3rd and 1 on the 41 of Miami. And Dixon ran for 7 yards to make it a first down on the Miami 34. They were faced with a 3rd and 1 a couple plays later from the Miami 25, and Brown picked up another first down, this time with a 6-yard run that brought it to the 19 as they were now in the red zone. They were then faced with a 3rd and 1 on the 10, and Dixon ran for another first down, picking up 4 yards to bring it to the 6 to make it 1st and goal. But their drive would end up stalling on the 3-yard line, and Kyle Orton ended up running for it, but he got tackled shy of the end zone, and so Dan Carpenter came out to kick his 2nd field goal of the game, this one a 21-yarder, and that made it 6-3 as the Bills took the lead. So now Miami got the ball with about 3.5 minutes left before halftime. They started off on their own 20. Tannehill hit Wallace for a 10-yard pass to make it a first down on the 30. Then Thomas ran for 7 yards, and that was make it 2nd and 3. But then they ended up with a pass from Tannehill, ended up losing 4 yards, and a pass to himself. And then it was 3rd and 7, and Tannehill went to Wallace for a 17-yard pass to pick up a first down at the 50. But then on 2nd and 10, Tannehill was sacked for a 3-yard loss by Super Mario, and that would bring up 3rd and 13 from the 47, and then an incomplete pass, but there was an illegal contact penalty against the defense, and that made it a first down on the Buffalo 48. Tannehill then hit Gibson for a 6-yard pass. It was 2nd and 4 from the 42. Tannehill then ran for a yard, and that would make it 3rd and 3. But an incomplete pass and an offensive pass interference, which was declined. So out came the punting unit to punt the ball, and Buffalo would take over, but they would end up just taking a knee, and this game went to halftime. So at halftime, the score was Buffalo 6, Miami 3. So to start things out in the third quarter, the Bills had the ball. They would go 3 and out in this first possession of the second half. So they punted the ball to Miami. Miami would take over on their own 28. But they would end up punting the ball 6 plays later from their own 29. And so now the Bills got the ball back with about 10 minutes left in the third. They started on their own 23. Then on 2nd and 4 from the 29, Kyle Orton hit Hogan for a 17-yard pass and made a first down on the 46. Then on 2nd and 7 from the 49, Kyle Orton hit Watkins for an 18-yard pass to make it a first down on the 33 of Miami as they brought the ball into Miami territory. They then were faced with a 3rd and 10. There was a penalty of offsides against Oderick, so now it was 3rd and 5. But an incomplete pass would bring Dan Carpenter out to attempt his 3rd field goal of the game. This one from 46 yards out. It was up, it was good, and now the score was Buffalo 9, Miami 3. So the Bills extend their lead to 6 points. So now the Dolphins would take over on their own 20 with about 6.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Tannehill hit Landry for an 11-yard pass. That made it a first down on the Miami 31. They were then faced with a 2nd and 5 from the 36, and Tannehill hit Landry for a 5-yard pass to pick up the first down on the 41. Then on 2nd and 5 from the 46, Miller ran for 7 yards to pick up a first down. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 47 of Buffalo, Tannehill hit Hartline for a 31-yard pass, and that brought the ball into the red zone. It was now a first down on the 16. Miller ran for 9 yards, and that made it 2nd and 1 from the 7. Then Brandon Gibson took it in from a 7-yard pass from Tannehill, and it was now 10-9 as the Dolphins took back the lead for the first time since they were up 3-0 early in the game when they scored the first points. So now they were up by 1, and they would kick off to Buffalo, and Buffalo would take over on their own 20 with about 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes left in the third. And they would end up with 2nd and 20. They would lose 4 yards, but then actually 3rd and 20. They ended up with a safety. So what ended up happening is they were backed up against their own end zone. There was a fumble. It was crazy. They ended up getting a safety, and so now the Dolphins ended up with 12 points, 2 points from the safety, and so now it was 12-9 Dolphins over the Bills. After the safety, they would have to punt the ball, but on the safety punt, it was a fumble by the Dolphins, and the Bills would end up recovering. So they actually recovered the fumble off of the safety punt, the punt that had resulted from the safety. So now Buffalo would take over on the Miami 39. They would end up getting 11 yards on a pass from Orton to Brown. And then on 2nd and 10, Brown would end up losing a yard, and that brought up 3rd and 11. And an incomplete pass would bring Dan Carpenter out to attempt his 4th field goal of the game. This one from 47 yards out. It was up, and it was no good. It was wide left. And so the score remained 12-9, Dolphins over the Bills. So the Bills had a chance to tie it up right there, and they had a missed opportunity. And now the Dolphins would take over on their own 37. Miller would run for 7 yards and then 3 yards, and that would make it a first down on the Miami 47. Tannehill then hit Clay for a 12-yard pass, and that made it a first down as they crossed midfield and into Buffalo territory on the 41 for the first down. Miller then picked up 4 yards, and then on 2nd and 6 from the 37, there ended up being a penalty of pass interference against the Dolphins, and that made it first down in the red zone on the Buffalo 13. Thomas then ran for 5 yards, and on 2nd and 5 from the 8, Tannehill hit Landry for the touchdown. They ended up challenging it if his knee was down before the ball had broken the plane, and they ruled that yes, the ball had broken the plane, and it was a touchdown, and now it was 19-9, Miami over Buffalo, as the Dolphins now extended their lead to 10 points. So now Buffalo would take over with about 11.5 minutes left in this game, as time had actually, expired. Didn't actually call it there, but it expired when just before the field goal. So the field goal happened to be right there, the second play of the fourth quarter. Anyway, so now with 11.5 minutes left, Buffalo had the ball on their own 29. They ended up with a 2nd and 6, and Orton ended up hitting Brown for a 16-yard pass. Then they were faced with a 3rd and 6, and an incomplete pass would bring out the punting unit. So they would punt the ball to the Dolphins. The Dolphins would now take over with about 10 minutes left in this game. They had it on their own 20. And then they ended up with a penalty of offsides against Super Mario. So it was 1st and 5 from the 25. And then a 3-yard little pass to Sims. And then Tannehill ran for 15 yards. And that brought up a first down on the Miami 43. Tannehill then hit Sims for an 8-yard pass. So it was 2nd and 2 on the 49. Tannehill was then sacked for a 4-yard loss as Williams and Bryant came in to sack him, but after the sack there was a penalty of unsportsmanlike conduct against Hughes, even though it was kind of questionable about if it really was Hughes or if it was Super Mario who really was doing whatever they called. Either way, they called it on Hughes, and so that made it a first down, is it was potentially a drive killer with the sack, but then now they extended the drive with the first down because of the penalty, and so now it was a first down on the Buffalo 38, and now Lamar Miller ran for 5 yards, so now that would be 2nd and 5, but instead of going for the jugular, the Dolphins called a timeout, and so now they gave the defense a chance to catch their breath. They came out of the timeout, they picked up 2 yards on a pass from Tannehill to Clay. But then on 3rd and 3, Tannehill was sacked by Super Mario for a 6-yard loss. It was another sack, and now out came the punting unit. They actually took a delay of game penalty, so to back them up 5 yards, and then they punted the ball. And so now the punt backed up the Bills on their own 10-yard line, and Orton ended up getting sacked on first down by Oliver Vernon for a 6-yard loss. And so now it was on the 4-yard line. They would be faced with 3rd and 6. They picked up 8 yards, and now it was 4th and 8, and they would go for it because now at this point there was only 3.5 minutes left in the game, and they needed 2 scores to win as they were down by 10 points, so they were in 4-down territory. They went for it on 4th down, and it was a short play as Orton just threw an incomplete pass right away to a guy who wasn't really open or even looking for the ball, and the Bills turned it over on downs. A big stop for the Miami defense, who nearly got a safety as they were right in Orton's face the whole 4 plays there. But now the Dolphins took over with about 3 minutes left, almost 3.5, in between 3.5, and it was their ball on the Buffalo 12. They would actually end up losing a couple yards, and they brought out Caleb Sturgis on 4th and 12 from the 14 to kick a 32-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and it was now 22-9 Miami over Buffalo. So now the Bills took over with about 3 minutes left. They needed 13 points to tie the game, 14 to win it, and they had it on their own 20, but they wouldn't even get a first down. As Kyle Orton, after throwing an incomplete pass, he got sacked by Mitchell for a 4-yard loss. He then threw a 11-yard pass to Hogan, but they needed 14. So now that made it 4th and 3, and on the 27-yard line, and Orton threw another incomplete pass to turn the ball over on downs. And so now Miami would take over on the Buffalo 27 with 2.5 minutes left. They ended up picking up a first down as they chipped away. They just kept running the ball with Thomas. He ran for 2 yards, 3 yards, and then 6 yards, first down. And now all that was left to do was Tannehill to take a knee, and the game came to a close with the final score: Miami 22, Buffalo 9. And with the win, the Dolphins are now 6-4 on the season, 3-2 at home. Buffalo is now 5-5 on the season, 3-2 away from Buffalo. And in this game, Ryan Tannehill was 26 for 34 with 240 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 16 yards off of 4 carries. Kyle Orton was 22 for 39 with 193 passing yards. He actually rushed for 2 yards off of 2 carries. The leading rusher in this game was Lamar Miller with 86 yards off of 15 carries. And the leading receiver in this game was Hogan with 74 yards off of 7 receptions for Chris Hogan of Buffalo. And on defense, we actually had 3 guys who had 7 tackles, as Corey Graham and Denoris Searcy of the Bills had 7 tackles, and Jamar Taylor had 7 tackles for the Dolphins, as those were the leading tacklers. The Buffalo Bills had 5 sacks in this game, 3.5 sacks for Super Mario Williams. Then we also had 1 sack for Stephen Charles, and then a half sack for Corbin Bryant, as he combined with Super Mario on one of those sacks. And for the Dolphins, Earl Mitchell and Oliver Vernon each had 1 sack, and that was the 2 sacks that the Dolphins had. The Dolphins' defense came up big when it counted most, and their offense was able to put up enough points as they win this game against their division rival, and a big win there in the AFC East. So the final score in Miami is Dolphins 22, Bills 9.